So the first thing I need you guys to do is stand up. Well, this is true. Funny, because I'm talking about that. Well, if you guys don't know, I'm kind of loud, and you may know a sound that I make around campus. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to let you guys share with me this lovely sound. So I'm going to do it, and then you're going to do it back to me, and it's going to be awesome. Okay. Ooh, ah! Okay, now we're going to do the one that's low, and it's kind of hard, and it may hurt your voice, but I believe in you guys. Okay, so ooh, ooh. Beautiful. Now just shake it out, and then sit down and get comfortable. Oh, God. It's beautiful. Oh. That was beautiful, and I appreciate all of that. It was great. So when I first was asked by Daniel if I'd speak at Afterglow a long time ago, I was like, shoot, what am I going to talk about? I was like, that isn't completely boring. Because I have this tendency to ramble, and I'm like, well, I could pick a lot of different things, but what's going to be relevant for people? So I searched for quotes, and I thought of a lot of experiences that I've had. And I remember one of my favorite phrases, which is, live courageously. And it happens to be the title of my blog, which is kind of where that came from. And so ever since I made that a few years ago, the phrase has just stuck with me. I mean, the concept of living courageously, I don't know what it is, but it's really cool to me, and I don't know exactly why I think it's so cool, but to me it's just really powerful. And so after researching the word courage, I found it comes from the Latin root cor, which means heart. So to be courageous means to live with the heart. For me, to live courageously is to live in insecurity. It is to live in love and trust, and it is to move into the unknown. It is leaving the past and allowing the future to simply be. Courage is simply to move on untraveled paths. There is danger there, but we can take the risk, and who says that we can't or that we shouldn't? So as I thought about this phrase, this past summer came to mind. For those of you who don't know, I was a Grayson rep this summer, and some of you may be thinking, what the deuce does that mean? Well, for those of you that aren't Community of Christ members, it means that for 7 weeks this summer, I was traveling all over the country to go to different Community of Christ camps and being staff, leading campfires, which is where you sing a lot, and just representing Graceland. And so for me, taking this job was a courageous act. Just because I'm not always comfortable being in places that are uncomfortable to me, and I guess that goes for everyone. But this was a really big step, and like going across the country away from the little Northwest bubble that I used to live in was a big deal for me. And so it was a huge unknown, and to me that was really terrifying. But I was excited all at the same time, don't get me wrong. So I was traveling to a different place each week. I'd build relationships, and then I'd have to move on to the next camp. And so the first situation that stuck out to me was during my first week of Grace and Repping. It was in the South, and I already knew some of the people there, and I did know that the way we did camp was probably going to be a little bit different just because of the geographic stuff. So I got there, and I knew my friend Kat, and I knew her parents, and so that was a little bit easy that I knew at least one person, and so that was easy to mingle in. But it was my first time teaching a senior high class alone, and I didn't know their campfire traditions or how they sang the songs or simply just how they did things. After a few days, I was starting to realize that I wasn't exactly doing what they wanted, and I didn't know what to do with that. In that time, I hit a low. I started doubting my abilities, and I was like, why was I chosen to be a Grayson rep? I can't do this. But then I stopped myself, and I was thinking back to the uplifting things that would get me through, and I was like, well, I can just do what I'm doing now and just do an okay job, or I could stop dwelling on what had been said and what was going on and just go straight to the sources to figure out what I could do better. And I was like, I need to just do this. And I didn't think of it then, but I think of it now that I lived courageously, or I made courageous decisions to be intentional with people and to go up to strangers that I was frankly intimidated by, because I knew that they knew or I knew that they thought that I wasn't doing an awesome job, and that took a lot of courage for me to stand up and be like, hey, I know you're not really liking what I'm doing, so how do I make it better? How can I go on from this? And once I did that, even though I was freaking nervous the whole time, things got better, and it was the best turnaround for me. I was able to make campfires more of what they wanted, and I just enjoyed myself more because I decided, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to do what I do, and I'm going to try to build relationships, and that's what's going to be it. I'm not going to focus on making them all come to Graceland, or I'm not going to focus on all the things that I'm not doing right. And that's what really helped me turn around in that situation. And now I look back, and that was one of my favorite weeks, but I say that about all of them. And I still keep in contact with those people, and I build relationships there, and that's just still awesome to keep in touch with those people and know that I did at least have somewhat of an impact. But that was just one instance where I figured out that to live courageously isn't always easy. So last spring, running for House President was definitely a courageous move for me personally. I'd always viewed the position as such a vital role for the House, and I'd always dreamed of doing the job, but it was still super intimidating. I was excited, I knew I could plan functions and get people excited about stuff and all the fun stuff you hear about, but then all the other stuff I was like, ooh, can I do that? I don't know. I was starting to be like, well, I don't like to write fines, but can I do it? Figured out, yes. But I was hearing from others of how great I do, which helped, but then at the same time, I was like, people are expecting a lot out of me. What does that include? What should I be doing? So coming into this year, I was really excited, but also nervous and a little fearful of what was to come this year. But once people got here, I was hyped up, I was energetic, I was excited to meet new people, I was excited to change things on the house and to keep some of our traditions and just have an awesome year. And then Air Band started. And I think that's when things kind of got a little bit stressful, go figure. But I can't pinpoint what all happened, but I started to realize over time that I wasn't being my true self. I was just going through the motions, and I wasn't enjoying the things the way I used to. Things were going on the house, and I felt like I was always trying to catch up with my classes. I was always tired, and I had to make some life-changing decisions because of it all combined was just getting to me. So I decided to take softball out of the picture after a lot of thought. It was a very courageous thing for me to do because it was really hard. I knew it was the right thing to do, and I knew that I needed to do that so I could put more energy into the things that I love, and to be the best House President that I could be and to spend more time on school. But it was still tremendously hard to explain to my teammates that I couldn't continue, and it was just hard for me to accept the fact that I couldn't play the sport I had played basically my entire life. And I think it was about a week after I quit that I started to notice that I was becoming a little depressed. And it's not that good things weren't happening, because they were. I was having an awesome time with my friends. There were good things happening every day. But still, for some reason, I was forgetting those things. And I was just drugged down by the negative. And I hate to say it because I do not like to admit when I'm mad or sad or anything close to those feelings, much less that they're affecting my daily life. But it's what needed to happen to get me back on track. So oddly enough, the turning point was a text from Daniel last week saying something like, hey, we should talk because you speak next week at church. And then I was like, oh crap, that's next week. Because I knew it was coming later on after Air Band. I was like, oh, I don't need to worry about that now. I'll just worry about it later. So it was actually preparing for tonight that snapped me back and helped me. So after I got the wake-up call and realized that the theme I wanted to talk about wasn't how I was living my life presently. So this past week, I gave myself a goal, which was to live by this theme, to live courageously. And I can't tell you that I've done anything miraculous, because I haven't, but I've worked hard to flip around my thought processes. And I decided I wasn't going to sulk in the stresses of life, but to push through them and really remember all the great things going on around me, because there were a lot of them. So anytime I'd catch myself feeling exhausted or just fed up with things, I'd go visit with someone on the hall, or I'd text a friend, or I'd just do some silly dancing to crazy music or whatnot, or play random games in the hallway or in people's rooms. And it's truly amazing how much the little things made a difference. Now, I've said a lot about my experiences, and I hope you got something out of it, but 3 things I hope you can take away is that being courageous doesn't necessarily mean that you're fearless. From my experiences, I've said I was fearful in every single situation. Since you're dealing with the unknown, there's bound to be some kind of fear along with that. And that we should listen to our hearts and our mind combined. I got to the point where I didn't know whether to follow my heart or my mind, but I found that with a mix of both, I can make a better decision for myself. And that when we live courageously, we can fully live in the present. This is the essence of it all, to allow the unknown future to take shape and to move into living in the moment. I know when I was like down on myself, like I said, I wasn't paying attention to the good things happening, and it's unfortunate because I look back now and I was like, that was really hilarious, like that was such a good time, but at the time, you wouldn't have known that I had a good time the last night or something like that. But I hope from all this you can now shape in your mind what living courageously means to you. So my challenge this week is for you guys to find one way to live courageously and see the difference that it makes. Thank you.